The desert didn't care about secrets. It buried them slowly, grain by grain, under centuries of silence. Dr. Mira Halden adjusted her headscarf as the sun climbed higher, throwing the dig site into a wavering heat haze. Around her, tents flapped in the wind, and equipment hummed with the usual diagnostic readings, except for one. She crouched next to the anomaly. A rectangular slab, half emerged from the sand, gleamed faintly despite being untouched by tools. Mira reached out and brushed away the remaining grains with a gloved hand, revealing a line of glyphs that had no business being there. "Tal," she called without turning her head. "Bring the scanner, now." Her assistant jogged over, holding the handheld unit already active. He hesitated when he saw the markings. "That's not Egyptian." "I know." Tal moved the scanner across the slab, waiting for the machine to process. It gave a faint click, then went silent. The screen remained blank. No material readout, no age estimate, just a pulsing dot in the center. "That's not a malfunction," he muttered. "It's reading something." Mira's eyes didn't leave the glyphs. Each symbol was etched with such precision it could have been laser cut. But that wasn't the most unsettling part. It was the feeling that it had been waiting. She took a deep breath and stood. "We've been digging around the wrong parts of this site. The outer structure is just a mask." Tal frowned. "You think this is under the Black Pyramid?" "I think the pyramid was built to hide something else." They walked the perimeter slowly, retracing paths they'd dismissed before. Near the northern base, where an old survey stake had snapped in the wind, Mira's boots sank slightly into the sand. She knelt and brushed it away, revealing a flat, smooth surface buried just beneath. Another slab. No markings this time, just the same impossible texture. Tal dropped beside her. "There's more of it." They dug by hand for hours, carving out a rectangular outline nearly 20 feet across. The exposed portion suggested a larger form below, a foundation, or maybe the top of something far deeper. As night fell, the temperature dropped, and the scanners lit up again, this time across all instruments. Mira stared at the readout. Perfect intervals. Harmonic spikes every 3.142 seconds, and beneath them, a low-frequency pulse almost too faint to register. "It's not random," she said quietly. "This thing is active." Tal looked at her, wide-eyed. "Active how?" She didn't answer. Somewhere below, deeper than their tools could reach, the desert was beginning to whisper back. Back at the mobile lab, Mira hunched over the console, barely noticing the sand caked to her sleeves. The data from the ground-penetrating radar had finished compiling, and what it revealed wasn't just surprising. It was impossible. "Look at this." She pointed to the display, where concentric layers of buried architecture unfolded in layers like a puzzle box. "These angles, see them? That's not natural erosion, and it's not standard pyramid architecture either." Tal leaned in, his face pale in the flickering light. "The base is perfectly square, and the center? That's a tetrahedron inside a cube." "Nested geometry," she murmured. "The outer layer is rough, limestone and mortar. But beneath that, it's a framework built with sub-millimeter precision. No known civilization had the tools for this kind of alignment. Not even now, not without AI correction." Tal stepped back. "So it's not part of the Black Pyramid?" "No," Mira said. "It's under it. Older, far older." They both turned as the printer began spitting out depth maps, each more detailed than the last. Cross-sections showed passageways that twisted in mathematically perfect spirals, nothing that conformed to traditional tomb layouts. Then came the material scans. Mira frowned. "This can't be right. What is it?" "Some of the internal structures aren't limestone or granite. Their reading is something denser. The composition's not even on the chart. It doesn't match any known terrestrial compound." Tal tried to laugh but couldn't. "Are you telling me we found a synthetic core made of unknown material buried under a pyramid older than recorded history?" Mira was silent. She stared at the rendering, each line, each shape, fit together with unshakable purpose. This wasn't a tomb. It wasn't even a monument. It was a message in form, left behind by minds who understood mathematics as language. The magnetic interference spiked again. The console dimmed briefly, then returned. Tal glanced at the instruments. That signal from yesterday. It's repeating. Same interval. Mira checked the timestamp. Every 3.142 seconds, she said. It's encoding pi. Over and over. He looked at her. Why? She stepped away from the console and picked up her notebook. Her hand shook slightly as she wrote the number across the page. They're trying to prove someone out there can still recognize the signature of intelligence. Tal whispered, and what if someone already has? Mira didn't respond. She just stared back at the screen, where the pyramid's hidden core glowed in ghostly outline, ancient and waiting. They came before sunrise. The distant growl of engines shattered the early silence, followed by a sudden burst of floodlights sweeping across the dunes. Mira shielded her eyes as a convoy of matte black transports crested the ridge, tires kicking up plumes of sand. Tal appeared beside her, half-dressed, face tense. Those aren't local. The lead vehicle rolled to a stop just outside the perimeter. Doors opened in near-silent synchronization, and men in unmarked uniforms stepped out, weapons slung but not raised. They weren't here to ask questions. One of them approached. He wore a gray coat, long and dustless despite the wind. His face was unreadable behind polarized lenses. Mira Halden, he said without introduction. You're leaving the site, now. She stood her ground. On what authority? Authority isn't a factor. This is no longer an academic excavation. Behind him, more personnel fanned out across the dig site, disabling scanners, folding tents, securing equipment. No logos, no patches, only the number 9 stenciled faintly on a few of the storage crates they unloaded. Tal hissed under his breath. They're cleaning the place out. Mira felt something tighten in her chest. We're the ones who found it. We have the right to document. You'll be compensated, the man said flatly, offering her a black folder sealed in plastic. Your findings are now classified under Section 9 protocol. You're being escorted out by noon. She didn't take the folder. I know what this is, she said. You didn't get here first. We triggered it. We have the recordings. The man said nothing. His eyes, hidden by the lenses, might as well have been empty. By the time the sun reached its peak, Mira and Tal were seated in a covered transport heading away from the pyramid. The desert rolled past in silence. From the window, Mira caught a glimpse of the dig site, now transformed. Drones circled the air. Large panels were being erected over the exposed slab. Everything was being sealed off as if it had never been touched. And then she saw it. A pulse of blue light, faint but undeniable, flickered at the pyramid's base. It lasted less than a second, and no one else seemed to notice. But she did. Tal, she whispered, not looking away. Something just activated. He leaned in, trying to see, but the angle was gone. Back at their tent site, now stripped bare, Mira found her field journal intact. The pages detailing the signal, the geometry, the materials. They were still there. That meant someone had allowed them to keep it. Which meant something worse. They were being watched. That night, from the edge of a nearby plateau, Mira and Tal returned under cover of darkness. The military vehicles were gone. No lights, no fences, no tire marks, nothing. Only the sand, slightly sunken near the northern face of the pyramid, and a smooth shaft, newly open, leading straight into the earth. The shaft dropped nearly 40 feet into silence. Mira's boots touched down on solid stone, carved, not natural. The air was colder than expected, still and dry like the inside of a sealed vault. Tal followed, his headlamp cutting a narrow path through the darkness. This wasn't dug, it was engineered. Mira nodded, already running her fingers along the wall. The surface was smoother than polished marble, covered with etchings that refracted light like metal, but gave off no reflection. Lines formed spirals, then nested squares, then something else entirely. Symbols she didn't recognize, yet couldn't stop staring at. They moved forward. The tunnel bent slightly as it descended, forming a perfect arc. At regular intervals, the walls pulsed faintly, as if reacting to their presence. Not motion sensors. Something more primitive or more advanced. At the bottom, the tunnel opened into a chamber. It was octagonal, with walls that curved upward into a high dome. In the center floated a cube, suspended in midair by no visible support. It spun slowly, edges glowing with a pale hue that shifted as they approached. Tal whispered, "Is it tech or art?" Mira stepped forward. "Or both." She reached out hesitant, and the cube responded, rotating faster, displaying symbols and patterns across its surface. A circular panel on the far wall lit up, revealing what looked like a solar system. Not theirs. One of the outer planets was highlighted in red, pulsing in time with the low hum now echoing through the chamber. "I think this is a map," Mira said. Tal studied it. "Where's Earth?" Another pulse. A second system appeared, familiar this time. Their sun, their planet. 2 signals, 2 origins, linked. The cube projected another image, this one 3-dimensional. Tall figures with elongated limbs, standing beside a structure that looked eerily similar to the pyramid above. They moved without sound, communicating through gestures. One of them held a device shaped like the cube, using it to lift blocks with invisible force. "They built it," Mira said, "the real structure, long before humans ever walked here." Tal pointed to the edge of the projection, where smaller shapes were shown arriving. Primitive, upright, human. The aliens backed away. A final frame showed them sealing the structure, burying it beneath sand and stone, layering it with a pyramid built not to honor gods, but to protect something left behind, something still waiting. Suddenly, a chime echoed through the chamber, sharp and unnatural. The cube stopped spinning. The light from the walls began to fade. Mira stepped back. "We're not alone," she whispered. "Not in this room, not on this planet." From far above, in the shaft they'd descended, came a brief flicker of light, red and pulsing, like a heartbeat. The pulse from above faded, but it had changed something. The cube began to shift again, this time projecting scenes not just as light, but as soundless memory. The chamber dimmed, and Mira and Tal stood surrounded by moments no human had ever witnessed. The builders, those tall figures, stood in the same room, eons earlier, calibrating a machine embedded into the floor. They moved with purpose, their gestures synchronized with invisible rhythms. They weren't guessing. They remembered something. "This is a recording," Mira said, "not just images. It's history, etched into architecture." Tal nodded slowly. "The stone remembers." The projection shifted. Now the builders were in retreat, sealing off corridors with what looked like compressed light. One of them carried a spherical object in both hands, pulsing, alive. Then came the others, less refined, brutal in shape, not human. They surged into the chamber. The builders held their ground, activated the cube, and flooded the room with a blinding wave of energy. A flash. Then silence. The cube flickered. Now the scene showed humans. Early ones, barefoot, draped in linen, standing in awe at the base of a pyramid only half formed. They worshipped, not knowing what they had found. They built on top of it, mimicking what they saw. Their monuments became tombs. The real message, buried. Another shift. One final scene. A builder facing the projection sphere directly. Its face, humanoid but distinctly other, moved its mouth. For a moment, everything froze. Then, audio. Low tones at first, vibrating in Mira's chest. Then language, structured and deliberate. Translated as it spoke. "To the next who finds this, we are gone, but not lost. This place is locked for a reason. Do not awaken what sleeps beneath. We buried it deep. It must remain sealed. The message ended. The cube dimmed, but did not power down. It hovered quietly, humming at a lower frequency now, one that resonated with the very walls. Tal's voice broke the silence. They weren't trying to leave a warning. They were trying to keep something in. Mira turned slowly. And we just broke the seal. The floor beneath them trembled, soft but unmistakable. Not an earthquake. A response. Somewhere deeper in the complex, another system had activated, doors opening, pathways reconnected after thousands of years. Mira stared into the dark hallway that had appeared behind them. There's more down there. Tal swallowed. We don't know what we're waking up. She looked back at the cube, still hovering like a waiting eye. That's exactly why we have to see it. The corridor felt colder with each step. No dust, no decay, just smooth surfaces and curved edges, untouched by time. Mira's footsteps echoed as if the place breathed, each sound swallowed by walls not made for human ears. Tal walked behind her, his light flickering as they descended. Whatever built this, it's not just ancient. It's preserved. The hallway ended at a sealed door, tall, metallic, and engraved with the same impossible script. Mira stepped closer. As she reached out, the cube, still hovering from above, drifted into view, trailing behind them like it had chosen to follow. It pulsed once. The door responded. A slit opened down the center, unfolding into the chamber beyond. They entered slowly. It was massive, far larger than any structure they'd seen above ground. The walls were curved inward, forming a perfect sphere. In the center, suspended by no visible force, floated an object unlike anything Mira had ever seen. It wasn't technology in the traditional sense. It looked alive, constantly shifting, flowing across itself, folding space in subtle, silent motion. Tal whispered, "This is the thing they warned us about." Mira nodded. It's not a machine. It's containment. On the floor beneath the sphere were hundreds of lines, paths etched into the material itself, glowing with a faint rhythm. She realized they were designed to channel energy away from the object, not toward it. Whatever this was, it was being drained, suppressed, and the system was failing. A hum grew in the walls. The rhythm faltered. The cube pulsed frantically, spinning faster now. Symbols lit across its surface in rapid succession. One repeated again and again, an angular glyph that Mira couldn't read but understood with terrifying clarity. Seal breached. "We need to leave," Tal said. Mira didn't move. Not yet. She approached the base of the chamber, where a small pedestal faced the sphere. Her field journal began to vibrate in her pack, something inside reacting to the frequencies. She opened it, and every page filled itself with symbols from the cube, burned in through the paper as if by invisible fire. Tal pulled her back as a panel above opened, releasing a hiss of frozen air. "It's activating," he said. "Mira, we need to go." The cube chimed once, then dropped to the floor, dim and lifeless. All light vanished. They scrambled out of the chamber as the sphere began to glow from within. Not violently, not fast, but with purpose. Back in the tunnel, they looked behind once and saw the chamber closing just as it had for whoever came before. Outside, the desert sky had shifted. Stars Mira had known her whole life were gone, or hidden. The sand beneath their feet pulsed once, faint as breath. She turned to Tal. "It's not just a structure, it's a lock." He didn't ask what it held. Neither of them spoke as they walked away from the buried truth, leaving the pyramid behind, unchanged on the surface, but forever different beneath.